that when you believe, it's going to produce action. Your faith will produce what it is that you do next. Because if you really believe, what would your day look like? If you knew that you weren't going to fail, who would you call? Who would you put your opportunity in front of? How many more people would you actually go out there and show your vision to? What would your aura be like? What would your energy be like? How would people see you? How would you show up in the world? That is you guys are here for the first time, but every single Saturday we come here. It's not actually about any particular product or service or company. It is simply a call for every single person out there who wants to see themselves grow, who wants to see surplus and abundance in their life. And the main message above all else is to show people that if you practice God's principles, you can participate in his promises. That is the message. It doesn't change. And I'm excited for that, man. I know we've got people in all different backgrounds and in professions on this call. And so we're not going to be here long. My style, those of you guys that don't know me, is to be effective, not eternal. But today we were talking about something very, very specific, and it's how to achieve. Okay, how to actually achieve everything that you can imagine, right? All that you could possibly imagine. Is anybody believing for anything big this year? Let me know something, man. Let me know something, man. Type of 777 in the chat. Is anybody believing for something big this year? Guys, I know for me, that was vital going into the new year was doing something big, doing something that I had personally never done before. And so I want to give you some key principles. I want to give you some things to think about, some things that you can maybe write a couple of notes. We're going to be in and out, but I want to see if this doesn't empower you to know that you can achieve everything that you can imagine. Okay, so I'm going to give you some of those keys, guys. I'm going to bounce back and forth, as you know, between the slides, as well as just talking to you. So if you need to see a slide, screenshot it. If you're on Instagram or Facebook, you'll catch the recording on YouTube. But like, comment, subscribe, and share if you see this on YouTube, if you're seeing the replay. Apart from that, guys, this is the first thing I want to talk about, and it's that we're choosers in life, right? Every single one of us is a chooser. What do I mean when I say that? I want you to understand that the life that you live and the destiny that's yours, I always like to tell people, and maybe you write it down, but if it's meant to be, it's up to me. If it's meant to be, it's up to me. What am I talking about? I'm trying to tell you that everything that you've seen another leader do from stage, everything that you've seen somebody else accomplish on Instagram, everything else that you saw somebody do, you can do it too. And I really want you to understand something. I can teach and train on so many different things. I love talking about leadership. I love talking about business and sales and things of that nature. But one thing that I'm going to talk about today, I need you to understand that your faith is really what's going to determine where you actually end up. You know, the Bible, it often describes God as a shepherd, and a shepherd leads, but he doesn't force. Right? So I want you to understand that whatever is for you, you're ultimately going to decide that. Right? So God wants to take you to another level, but he can't force you. And his plans for us require our participation. And I think that's where most people get it wrong. Has anybody ever met, you know that friend, that family member, and they say, well, one day God is going to do it for me, or one day it's going to happen. I'm all for believing in God to do what he said he's going to do, but at the same time, are you doing what you're supposed to do? Everyone wants to post their goals and they say, oh, now's my time, now's my season. But what are you doing when nobody's watching? Everybody has $1 million dream, but some people have a minimum wage work ethic. Do you know what I'm saying? So faith is a part of our participation. Somebody says, what is my role? What is my job? Your job is to believe, right? So faith is not optimism. I think a lot of people just think, oh, if I'm optimistic, I'm having faith. That's not what I'm saying. That's not what that means. And you guys can see it here. Okay. But faith is not optimism. Faith is not just thinking positive. Faith, ladies and gentlemen, produces optimism. It produces manifestation, but James 2:26 says faith without works is dead. Let me explain what that means for those of you guys who may have heard that, but I really want to break down what that means. It means that if you have faith, it should then lead to and produce a different action. Somebody type action in the chat. Somebody type action in the chat. When you believe, it's going to produce action. Your faith will produce what it is that you do next. Because if you really believe, what would your day look like? If you knew that you weren't going to fail, who would you call? Who would you put your opportunity in front of? How many more people would you actually go out there and show your vision to? Whatever you're building, whatever you're looking to accomplish, if you knew that you couldn't fail, what would your aura be like? What would your energy be like? How would people see you? How would you show up in the world? That is the difference maker, ladies and gentlemen. Back when I was first starting in my career, I would do the work, ladies and gentlemen, but the faith was missing. And see, I used to wonder, man, I'm doing all this work, but how come it's not working? Right? How come everyone that I'm showing my vision to, how come as I'm going out there and doing what it is that I do, why is it that I can't seem to attract? I can't seem to build on the level that I want to build. And the reason why, ladies and gentlemen, I didn't believe. The faith was missing, and people can tell, right? Your environment, whoever you come into contact with, it starts with your belief. That's the foundational piece. And the way I like to see it, ladies and gentlemen, for those of you that may still be confused, I say that faith is just acting like God is going to do what he said he's going to do. Faith is just acting like God is going to do what he said he's going to do. And somebody might be asking themselves, man, why is that important? Like, what is that? Because I know all of us have different goals and we want to accomplish different things. We might be asking the question, why does that matter so much? And ladies and gentlemen, the reason why it matters so much is because it's the belief, ladies and gentlemen. It's the belief, okay, that's going to put you in position, right, to actually do what it is that you said that you want. Okay, so let me explain to you something. Have you ever seen somebody that they just seem so calm under pressure? You never see them sweat. Has anybody ever seen somebody like that? Type of AOTK in the chat. Have you seen somebody that, man, they just calm under crisis, right? No matter what's happening, no matter if their world is turning upside down, and they might tell you a story of what they were going through, but you never saw it on them. You can never see them panic. You always saw them keep putting one foot in front of the other. How many guys want to be that kind of person? Type of AOTK in the chat box. Let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, where I root my belief, my faith, my confidence, it comes from what God says. It's not what a guru says. It's not what I saw on Instagram. And let me tell you something. You empower yourself, ladies and gentlemen, when you put trust in a higher power. You empower yourself when you look at what it is that he promised. Let me explain something to you. At the end of every principle is a promise. At the end of your feelings is nothing. That's why I don't put my trust in feelings. Some people, they wake up in the morning and say, hey, how do I feel? It's not about how you feel. It's about the principle. What are you supposed to do? Right? It's about trusting in something that's concrete that doesn't change. Right? Life changes all the time. People change companies, people change jobs, people change teams, people change clothes. But the one thing that never ever changes is what he said. Does that excite anybody? Type of AOTK in the chat, man. I get fired up. That gets me fired up because that lets me know, okay, cool. So if I do what I'm supposed to do, and I follow exactly what his game plan is for me, then I win the game. Ladies and gentlemen, the next thing I really want you guys to know, because you say, all right, man, all right, bet. Okay, you telling us that he's going to do what he said he's going to do. Let me just remind you, and again, I want you to get the point. I want you to get the purpose. I want you to understand, ladies and gentlemen, the purpose and what it is that I'm saying to you. Somebody says, well, what does God say? You guys can see it here on the screen. I'll just read it to you. But I love Ephesians 3:20. Yeah, I love Ephesians 3:20 that says, now unto him that is able to do exceedingly abundantly above all that we ask or think, according to the power that worketh in us. Let me run that back slower. It says, now unto him that is able to do exceedingly abundantly above all that we ask or think, according to the power that worketh in us. Guys, I get excited about that because he said exceedingly and abundantly above all we ask or think. I think a lot of us, be honest with yourself. How many guys have ever thought of something and you looked at your goal and you looked at what you wanted to do and you said, man, that's kind of big. I don't know if that can happen for me. Somebody asked me the other day, on the phone and said, hey man, listen, I just started in sales and I just started in my career and man, do you ever deal with fear? I was so happy that he asked me this question because he was being honest. He was being real. He said, do you ever deal with fear? He said, did you ever have to overcome that? And if so, how did you do it? How do I build my belief is essentially what he was asking. He wanted to know, how he could get to a place of even believing that he could do it. Has anybody ever felt that feeling ever? Type of 777 in the chat box. Guys, I told him, I said, man, I'm glad you asked. That was one of my biggest mountains. Can I tell you that winning and succeeding, that's not the hardest thing you ever gonna do. Believing that you can win and succeed, that's the hardest thing that you'll ever do. Okay, it's the faith that you can actually do it. But can I tell you something? The faith should be in who you are, but it also should be rooted in whose you are. Because if you know whose you are, then you know that he's able to do exceedingly and abundantly above all that we ask or think. Does it make sense? Type of ALTK. Come on, that right there. See that, ladies and gentlemen, when I wasn't where I wanted to be, when it wasn't working out, when my world was upside down, when there was no proof that anything was going to happen the way that I wanted it to happen. There was no proof. But faith is the evidence of things not seen. That was all the evidence I needed, is the faith in whose that I am. I like Romans 8:37. Romans 8:37 says, knowing all these things, we are more than conquerors through him that loved us. Guys, has anybody on the call ever gone through something? Yes or yes? Type the answer in the chat. I see y'all on Instagram, Facebook, Zoom. Come on. Has anybody ever really gone through something? You gone through something and you just didn't know how you was going to make it out. You were going through something and it just really, you felt like it just threw you off track. Some of you guys might be going through stuff right now. And you just don't know how you're going to come back from it. You don't know how you're going to get back to where that you want to be. You don't know how you're going to overcome it. You deal with something and you don't know how you're going to break free of it. You don't know how you're going to get to your next level. What I love is it says we're more than conquerors. But it doesn't say that we're more than conquerors by ourselves. It doesn't say we're more than conquerors alone. It says we're more than conquerors through him that loved us. Now, if you really believe that, because trust me, I'm not saying this for no reason. I know that we all go through things, but if you really believe that, oh man, you'll approach your business much different. No, you're going to attack your life so much differently. The way you wake up, people are going to look at you like, man, he just walking with a swag. And, there she go. Why? Because you know that you're more than a conqueror. You believe on a different type of a level. You know that you're more than a conqueror. And guess what? That's going to give you peace. That's going to take a weight off your shoulder. That's going to allow you to release the anxiety. It's going to allow you to release the worry. It's going to allow you to have the strength, ladies and gentlemen, to move forward and do what you need to do and accomplish the mission. You will be the person that people look at and they say, man, she inspires me. You will be the person that they say, man, bro, I never told you this, but when I was going through things, you would be who I looked at and You were the one that allowed me to know that it was possible. You will be that person, but guess what? You got to root your faith. You got to root your belief. You got to have a foundation of ultimate knowing. And the only ultimate knowing is in God, is in what he said. Man, I get excited about that, man. Y'all gonna have to forgive me. I'll be like, man, I love Jeremiah 29:11. Jeremiah 29:11 says, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope in the future." Does anybody want hope in the future? I know for me, man, like, the reason why I know this is so deep is because I talk to a lot of people. The reason why I know this is so deep is because I know where I was 5 years ago. And, how many of you guys know what it feels like to say an affirmation and you don't believe the affirmation? You ever really felt that? Type yes or no in the chat box. Have you ever said an affirmation, you didn't believe the affirmation? Have you ever said the goal and you didn't really believe you were going to do it? Have you ever maybe celebrated something with a group of people? You went to a conference, a seminar, a convention, you were fired up, you said what you were going to do. A week later, when you found yourself alone, everything you said you was going to do, you didn't believe it anymore. You ever felt that feeling, or is this just me? Man, I used to be the toughest. I said, man, I just don't know. I don't know if I'm supposed to win. I don't know if I can win. I don't know if I'm destined to succeed. Maybe I should just throw in the towel. Maybe I should just hang it up. And to be honest with you, most of us don't say it like that to ourselves. What do? We create a comfortable scenario in which, we just start rationalizing. Maybe I don't need to do that. Maybe I don't need to do this. Why? It's a coping mechanism to make ourselves feel better about the fact that we really don't believe. We really don't have faith. But if you look at what he said, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope in the future." When I think about that, that allows me to know that whatever's happening in my life, whatever's not going my way, I know there's a bigger picture. I know there's a bigger plan. Why? Because of his will for my life. Man, if you receive a type of ALTK in the chat, come on, man, let me know something. Let me check what's going on. Let me check what's going on. Okay. Now this gets me fired up. This is what allows me to keep moving forward every single day. What's up, Chrissy? Okay. Next. Somebody type builder in the chat box if you're a builder. Let me explain what I mean. Type builder in the chat box if you're a builder. Okay. Some of y'all don't know what I mean. When I say builder, I mean that you're the builder of your life. Somebody say, I'm a builder. Okay. Type builder in the chat. Right? Type builder in the chat if you receive the responsibility for being the builder of your life. Guys, I love the story of Noah's Ark in the Bible, because everybody thought Noah was crazy. Let me explain to you something. They thought he was crazy. The villagers, they looked at Noah and they saw him chopping down these trees. They saw him assembling this big boat, this big wooden boat. They saw that he was professing what was going to happen, but nobody could actually see it physically. Guys, a lot of people think that they have to see something physically in order for that thing to be real. They think they have to see it visibly for it to be real. The wind blows by, we can't see the wind, but we feel it. We still know it's there. You don't have to see it visibly for it to be real, but nonetheless, they didn't believe in what he was saying. They didn't believe in his vision. They didn't believe in what he was about to do. They said, man, you crazy. What are you doing? Spending every single day dedicating his life, building the ark. He told them, hey, man, listen, it's about to go down. Look, man, this was about to pop off. I'm telling you, hop on the boat. He said, I'm doing this with purpose. Right? He said, this is what God promised me. And God always keeps his promises. But they looked at him crazy. They said, man, I don't know what you're doing. And can I tell you something? Everybody thought Noah was crazy for building the ark until it started raining. And I love that, ladies and gentlemen, because I think a lot of you, if you're anything like me, you're a builder. You're building something. You're building a life, you're building a future, and people around you, family, friends, they may not believe in you. They might not see what you're doing. But guess what? God didn't give them the vision that he gave you. Right? So if they buy into the vision, if they believe into the vision, that's really their business. What matters for you is, are you going to trust? Are you going to believe in the process? Are you going to believe in the principles, the patterns, and the precepts that he gives us to lead our lives? Because if you do, ladies and gentlemen, when the rain starts coming, you will have been well prepared. You will have been well ready. You will have been already in position. And guys, I think some things that God tells us to do, he puts in place to stretch us. He puts in place to grow us. He puts in place to transform us. Right? I think when we have challenges in life, you know, the word challenge inside of it, you have the word change. So in other words, without challenge, there is no change. And when things are happening in our life that you know, hey, you get some pushback, I like to tell folks, opposition is the sign that you're in position. So when things aren't going your way, it's meant to grow you. It's not meant to fold you, it's meant to form you. And I think that's the difference between people that win and people that lose. People that win, they just have a different perspective. They just have a different faith. They just have a different focus. They just have a different outlook. And that's why I told you it's about the faith. Somebody says, man, I thought I was going to learn some skill set. Guys, this matters more than anything. Because the how-tos of life, can I tell you that, follow me here, somebody should write this down. Success principles are easy to find. They're just hard to follow. If I go back and change anything, I would believe much bigger, much sooner. Okay, so it wasn't just dependent. You know, I love this. God is the architect, but we're the general contractors. Let me explain something to you. The architect designs the building, but the general contract gets the hammer, the nails, and builds the building. Right? So in other words, without man, God will not, but without God, man cannot. It's a partnership. The design he has for your life, you have to unlock it. You got to build it. You got to construct it. You got to put it together. And so just like Noah, who everyone thought was crazy, when he said what was going to happen, just like Noah, when everyone didn't believe in what he said he was going to do and what God was going to do, in the same way, ladies and gentlemen, it can happen for you. Everyone might think that you're crazy until the rain starts coming. Everyone thinks you're crazy till your life starts changing, till you start impacting other people's lives. You know, it's funny, they say family and friends won't support you until strangers start clapping for you. Okay? And a lot of the time, no one messes with your movement until you get it moving. So that's up to you, and it's up to us to go out there and make the rest of February and make the rest of 2023 the biggest year yet. If you're committed to it, type of AOTK in the chat. Man, I'm fired up. I'm excited to go make the rest of this Saturday a productive Saturday. I enjoy my time with you guys as I do every single week. We're here every single Saturday. with the same message. If you practice God's principles, you can participate in his promises. Doesn't matter what you're doing. It doesn't matter what you're promoting, you're selling, you're building. Let's go make it happen. I love each and every single one of you. There's nothing you can do about it.